What is going on, everyone? Derek Hudson here with tip number 2 of my 10 tips from the 2021 season. And no 10 tips list would be complete without my best finish from the 2021 season. And that was my 4th place finish, BFL at High Rock in North Carolina. And that tournament truly was one of those tournaments that every piece of the puzzle came together in order to make that one a successful tournament. I had 2 hours of practice, is all I had, and I did what I was comfortable with, and it all lined up. So here I'm going to break it all down, but where we got to start? We got to start with practice. Like I said, 2 hours of practice. So this right here, 6XD, this was the only rod I put on the deck of my boat. And the water, it was summertime, the water was low, hadn't rained in a while. It just screamed offshore conditions. So I put the 6XD on 12-pound test Seaguar Tatsu with a Stix number 4, 7'6" rod. And I put that on the deck of my boat and then went idling with my electronics, trying to find some offshore fish. And the third place I idled was this hump. And there was probably 40 to 50 fish down there. There was a ton of fish. And they were sitting in 22 to 25 foot of water. So, watch this video. I hopped up to the front, took my active target on my Lowrance, and pointed it at the school of fish. You could see them all down there. I threw out, made a long bomb cast out there, and cranked it down and was working it. And I could actually see that the active target, people talk about it all the time, that the active target is used to catch fish. But it's not just used to catch fish. It is also a great tool for learning. And learning how deep that crankbait is going, learning how that crankbait's getting down there, like how quickly it's getting down there. Same thing with like Alabama rigs and flutter spoons. It's actually showing you what that bait is doing. So I watched that crankbait and he went down and I could see it skimming like right above the top of the school of fish. Like it wasn't getting all the way down to the bottom and it wasn't getting under the fish. It was just skimming right across the top of them, and I caught some white perch or white bass. And I'm pretty sure they're white perch, but I caught some of them and was like, okay, a lot of times, you know, from past history, where there's white perch, there's bass. And I kept casting, and I caught another white perch and another white perch and caught a bunch of them. But I was like, there's a lot of fish down there. Let me just see if there's bass in there. Normally the bass are underneath the white perch. Anybody that knows anything about offshore, normally the bass are under the white perch. So I took and I cast the long cast out there, and then I took the boat and I went away. And what I did was basically I long lined. And that just allows the crankbait to get a couple more feet deep. And sure enough, when I started hitting bottom, that's when I caught my first bass. It was about 3 pounds. So left there, went idling some more. I only had 2 hours, so I left there and went idling some more. Never found anything else. And tournament day, I changed up. I kept 6XD on, but I added a couple things to it. I switched up from 12-pound Tatsu to 10-pound Tatsu, just to get it down there where I figured the bass would be. And then I also, when I came back to the spot, I made sure I lined up with the wind blowing with my cast so I could get a longer cast. And that truly was some of the best decisions I could have made for that tournament, because I could throw it out there and I was hitting bottom good this time. and I was just dredging that bottom. And I could see the school of fish. I could throw my active target around, and I could see little pods of fish in certain places, like off of the side here, off of the back side here. You know, it'd be like a little stick, and they'd be right beside that. It was a lot of fish down there, and I was just taking the ones that looked bigger. I was taking that active target, finding them, and making bomb casts way past them, and then bringing it through them. And sure enough, they started choking it. I started catching bass after bass first thing that morning, and there was a lot of guys fishing around me, and none of them were catching them like I was. And if I didn't have Lowrance active target on the deck of my boat, I know for a fact I wouldn't have caught those fish. But on top of that, if I didn't have spot lock with my Ghost trolling motor to keep me in place so I could make, when I found a school, like when I saw the school with the active target and I turned around and cast over and over to that school, you know, trying to trigger that bite. Sometimes I have to stop it. Sometimes I'd have to pump the crankbait a couple times real hard and try to deflect off something. If I didn't have spot lock to keep me in place to do that over and over again sometimes, I wouldn't have caught them. And then on top of that, just the way the active target showed me my crankbait wasn't getting where it needed to be, and I was able to make that line change to the 10-pound Tatsu and get a little bit deeper. Those things, those key elements, the 7'6" Stix rod, number 4 Stix rod, that thing would launch a crankbait a mile. You watch these videos, you can see I am heaving it a long ways. And it's amazing how so many different pieces of a puzzle have to come together sometimes to make your tournament successful. I mean, I've had tournaments where you screw up 4 or 5 hook sets and you just have a bad tournament. You still do really good. This one wasn't one of them. This one was, I got very blessed that in the 2 hours I had to look for fish, my Lowrance showed them to me like a light bulb. And then turn around and my Lowrance units up front, that active target, I was able to see those fish, call my shot. You know, you could tell which fish were the bigger fish and which fish were the ones that you were targeting for your, you know, your big sack you needed. But those things truly all lined up perfectly in that tournament. Another thing that I did different that I've been doing for years, and truly, if I haven't learned anything else in fishing, it's that scent makes a huge difference. Why do you think these pros are using the Berkley Max scent so religiously, and all these different sprays and goops and jellies and stuff? Scent makes a huge difference. And in that tournament in particular, I was spraying my crankbait. I knew they were on a shad bite, so I was spraying my crankbait with Bang shad formula, and that was a huge difference maker. I know that those fish were choking it down to their gill plate, and that just shows they were not confused on what they were doing. They knew that looked like a shad, that tastes like a shad, that smells like a shad. I'm gonna eat that thing, and they were destroying it. Another thing,
Thank you, sir.
10-pound test. When you're catching 4 and 5 pound bass, 10-pound test, especially after you've been dredging the bottom, can be a little unnerving. And that Seaguar Tatsu, that's their best, and that stuff is like iron on the outside, but still supple enough to cast a long distance. That truly gave me the confidence to drop down to that little wider line and still land those big fish. I mean, because they were like a sack of potatoes when I'd hook into them. So, not just trying to give a shout out to the companies that I had a lot of success with, but I know I've been doing this a long time, and I know that all those key elements and all those things hadn't lined up that way, that tournament wouldn't have been as successful as it was. And you can see here, it was a great sack of fish, all healthy fish. Truly wish I wasn't a tournament angler that just popped in these lakes for tournaments and then had to leave and go back home and not get to go back for them the next day, because man, it's a lot of fun catching fish like this. So Lowrance Active Target, if you are in a contemplating state of whether you should get forward facing sonar, if you feel like it's a disadvantage to the fish because you can see them and it's basically taking the elements out that, you know, we used to have, where you just fan cast over places and you stumble into them. Yeah, it does that. It allows you to see them, but it doesn't allow you to just catch them. You've got to figure out all the other pieces too. But one of the things about Lowrance Active Target that I've been most excited about and has truly made me a better fisherman is all the little tips that it gives me. It allows me to see how my crankbaits work. It allows me to see what speed my Alabama rig needs to be reeled at to stay level or to rise above something or whatever. It's just so many learning tools built into that type of sonar that, not just for the fish catches alone, it is a great tool for teaching you how to be a better angler. And with that, this tournament it almost seemed like a piece of cake, but it was a lot of pieces that came together to make this one work. So I'm excited to share that with you. I hope you learned something from this. If you have any questions about it, if like you saw something in the video that you want to ask me about, please feel free. I will gladly answer any of your questions. I'm here to help. I'm here to give you some tips that can help you on the water. So thanks again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to putting the rest of these videos out. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them. Got 8 more tips coming to you. Thanks again for all your help and support.